Rolling hills of green, stretching as far as the eye can see. Towering cliffs that overlook the crashing waves of the sea. Historic city centers, where good times are around every corner. This is Northern Ireland, and this was what came to mind when I, Brent Weston, a 21-year-old student at Hanover College, discovered that I had the opportunity to visit the Emerald Isle in the spring of 2014 with 9 of my classmates and Professor Elizabeth Winters. Before embarking on this trip, my classmates and I were able to research some of Northern Ireland's history and learned of a conflict that plagued the nation's past, the Troubles. This was a lengthy and bloody conflict between Protestant Unionists who wished to remain part of the United Kingdom and Catholic Republicans who were tired of being oppressed and wished to split from the United Kingdom to become part of the Republic of Ireland. The violence during this time was beyond belief and resulted in the creation of numerous murals to memorialize the battles and those lost in said battles. That being said, I believe that this violence had dissipated around the turn of the century with the Good Friday Agreement, which was supposed to result in peace for the country. This ignorance remained as we flew into the country, and I found all of the beautiful scenery that I had come to expect. However, as our journey began, we came across a land where conflict and division still affected everyday life. I didn't know it then, but looking back now, I was beginning what would become a life-altering journey.
Thank you.
Talking lots good. Better than one-word answer. One of the most rewarding aspects of our trip was having the privilege of interviewing past participants and community leaders involved with the Ulster Project, a program that is working towards peace and reconciliation in Northern Ireland. This project brings together young teens from both sides of the conflict, Protestant and Catholic, and sends them to the United States for a month over summer to experience a different way of life than what is so prevalent in Northern Ireland today. While in America, these teens will participate in various activities that are meant to integrate Protestant and Catholics. Protestant teens will attend a Catholic church service. Catholic teens will attend a Protestant church service. This, along with other activities such as group service projects and in-depth discussions about painful topics, shows the teens that the so-called other side is not as different as they may have been led to believe. Father John Forsyth has worked with the project for 37 years. He gladly invited us to a prominent church in Belfast to discuss what the Ulster Project wishes to accomplish for these young Irish teens.
The full goal is that these young Catholics and these young Protestants, who sometimes may never ever have the chance to meet here in Northern Ireland, will learn to understand each other, work together, become the best of friends.
This project not only helps create peace and reconciliation among the younger generation, but it also produces leaders that go on to help Northern Ireland in other aspects. James Eyre, a former Ulster Project participant, has quickly become one of the most successful businessmen in Belfast. Eyre is a key developer of the Titanic Quarter in Belfast, a complex that experienced continued growth over the years. Tourists flock to the location, and it is even home to the set of HBO's hit series Game of Thrones. The peace in Northern Ireland has fostered the growth of the country's entertainment industry, an industry which struggled during the time of the Troubles, as Eyre remembers from his youth.
One of the very interesting memories that I have as a child was when I was about 14. Was going into my father one evening and asking if I could go to the cinema with a group of kids from school night, and to which Dad said, "No, you're not going into the city centre this evening." I said, "Well, why not?" He said, "Well, there's still Troubles on, and we just don't think it's safe and appropriate that you should be in the city centre in the evening time."
James's ability to bridge this cultural divide and become a leader in Northern Ireland is something our class found to be quite common among past Ulster Project participants. The Ulster Project has the ability to change young teenagers' lives and their perceptions of the other side. People like Gavin Robinson, who became Lord Mayor of Belfast at a very young age and now works as member of the City Council, have had to work tirelessly to close the divides that were ever so present as they grew up in Northern Ireland.
Growing up, I didn't get the opportunity to mix, to engage across the divide, to have the opportunity to see a reflection of a different side of our community or of culture in Northern Ireland. Didn't get the opportunity to enjoy the aspects of alternative culture or different culture in Northern Ireland.
In order to become a successful politician, Robinson has had to be able to work with and understand those who have different beliefs than his own. Robinson admitted to us that the Ulster Project gave him the opportunity to begin doing so.
And so it was something that we really enjoyed, but got to see a side of the community in which I come from, got to see something that ordinarily would not have been open to me, but enjoy it. And from that perspective, barriers were just removed.
As successful as Robinson has been as a politician, his home of Belfast is still one of the cities most affected by tensions between Catholic and Protestant sides. As our class toured the city, we came across 40-foot walls meant to keep peace between neighborhoods. We drove through huge gates that would close as night approached in order to stop any potential violence. Amy Gribben is an Ulster Project alum and works with Belfast youth from both sides of the conflict in an effort to help young people of Northern Ireland bridge their divide. In this job, Amy has had first-hand experience with the sort of violence that presents itself in Belfast.
There's been different incidents in the past. If we're out and detached, we'll get hit with stones or bricks or caught up in riots. I've witnessed young people making petrol bombs right in front of me to throw at the other community. Young people are really hyped up on, what are you? Are you a Catholic or a Protestant? Because I'm not going to talk to you if you're the one I don't like. Right. So that's hard to overcome. But from my experience, it's been the communities and the adults that are the problem.
This conflict is not restricted to large cities in Northern Ireland, though. Across the country, schools and neighborhoods are divided by religion. Even in very small towns, someone may never meet a person of the opposite religion. James McLaughlin, an Ulster Project alum from the city of Enniskillen, and a man who works closely with the Ulster Project, described to us what it was like growing up in such a small city.
Growing up as well, I was sort of I lived in a community that was predominantly Catholic, went to a Catholic primary school, was in a Catholic secondary school, so I hadn't had the opportunities to mix socially with Protestants, not by any sort of fault of my own or my family. It was just the sort of social makeup and the way we live.
With the help of the Ulster Project and of the community, Enniskillen has made significant strides towards peace and reconciliation. We made visits to Protestant and Catholic churches and learned how they are coexisting in a manner we did not see in Belfast. Specifically, we learned that Protestant and Catholic churches had begun holding joint church services in order to bring both sides of the conflict together.
It showed me that there's no real difference between myself as a Catholic and others. We're all worshipping the one God, and we shouldn't let our differences divide us. We should cherish our differences and learn about each other's differences and have tolerance and mutual respect and understanding for those that have different faith beliefs than ourselves.
Mario Gribben was a member of the very first Ulster Project in 1975 and now works as an elementary school principal. Gribben believes that the peace and reconciliation process begins with the youth of Northern Ireland.
I think we have a lot to learn about peace building from our young people too. We need to have their openness, we need to have their idealism, because sometimes we become too cynical as adults and we become too worried about things.
One of the many things I learned about the Ulster Project in Northern Ireland is that it does not solely affect the young teens who participate. My class and I had the opportunity to interview a variety of people. There was an elementary school principal, a Protestant police officer working in a Catholic neighborhood, an up-and-coming politician in Belfast, and many other people who are working towards peace and reconciliation in Northern Ireland. In doing these interviews and learning about these Ulster Project participants, I found that the project has the ability to affect a vast amount of people.
It's not just 62 teenagers making friends with each other. It's those 62 teenagers, and each one of those has a wider family of about 30. So you have literally thousands of people can be affected by the Ulster Project.
There is no doubting the fact that conflict and division still affect Northern Ireland today. But with help from organizations like the Ulster Project, the country is making strides towards peace and reconciliation. My classmates and I did still find images of resentment decorating the cities of Northern Ireland, but at the same time, we found these cities being more packed than ever with community leaders who wish to see this division come to an end. I know that with the efforts of these leaders, I will soon be able to envision Northern Ireland the same way I was able to before we arrived. As a magnificent country, packed with even more magnificent people.